Hi, and welcome back to AdMasters 2.0 Gaming Edition, a fireside chat series with gaming industry leaders sharing their knowledge on what it takes to build and promote best in class mobile games. My name is Katya, and I'm leading App Ads marketing at Google EMEA, and I will be your host for today. Today, we'll be discussing scaling your business. For this, we're joined by Vasil Georgiev from Gameloft, one of the top game developers counting dozens of titles across various genres. Stay tuned to hear more about growing pains. Mistakes, are they unavoidable or inevitable? Scaling across borders, how do you go about prioritizing new markets? And operational complexity of scaling up. Without further ado, Gameloft doesn't need an introduction, but let me introduce our today's guest. Vasil, would you like to tell us about yourself? Tell us what attracted you to the gaming industry, and a bit more. Give us a bit more detail about your job at Gameloft right now.
Yeah, thank you first for having me, and nice to meet everyone. It's always great, to feel a bit closer to that indie developer kind of vibe. So I started 10 years ago in gaming, absolutely by accident. So I was just finishing my master degree, and I got an invite from a friend. It was kind of fun in the beginning to explain to my family and friends that, okay, after investing so much time, I'm getting into gaming, and they're free. So a lot of questions of whether it's a charity or a scam appeared, but I think that, probably the reasons that make me stay in that industry would be probably very representative for you. So the first thing is that gaming is a really quick, the adoption of, of innovations and cutting-edge technology, especially in the ad tech, when I'm deeply involved, is astonishing. I mean, you start using a lot of new stuff that is appearing on the market. And second, the growth of that industry, I mean, it's tremendous. Over the last few years, the revenue from gaming surpasses the revenue from music and movies combined. So these are really big retention points for me.
Very interesting. So continuing on, Gameloft's story, and could you tell us a bit more about what made Gameloft, in your opinion, so successful? It's one of the leaders in a very competitive industry. So what do you think you have done differently to achieve that?
The first thing, of course, is that, up to me, the ones that succeed in internet are the fastest or the first ones. So Gameloft is a true pioneer in mobile gaming. It started in year 2000 with all of these Java-based games. And it's very visible from the history of our franchises. For example, if you take a look at the Asphalt series, and if you compare the Asphalt 1 with Asphalt 9, I mean, Asphalt 9 is it's a multi-award-winning game which was presented on stage when most of the phone developers are introducing their new tech, and also it received the design award from Apple. But if you see how this franchise began, it was really, by the era of dominance of Nokia phones, when probably most of you have played Snake games and stuff. So Asphalt 9 and 2, this series was also available for that phone. So that was the first thing. The second thing is that Gameloft opened studios in the right locations, in the right place, attracting the right talents in a moment when, the industry has a bright future. So, that thing was really a strategic competitive advantage, no doubt. Another thing is that if you take a look at the portfolio that we're having, it's quite varied. I mean, we have games like Dragon Mania Legends, which are, casual games with dragons. We have arcade games, racing games like Asphalt 9. And the games that I'm directly overseeing in Gameloft, they're a bit mid-core and hardcore games. So they're SOG strategies. So the portfolio is really varied. And last but not least, we've been acquired by Vivendi several years ago, which you all know how big conglomerate that is. So They're extremely helpful with sharing experiences from their successful businesses, and making the synergies between the different entities quite effective at the end. So as you can see, it was very good timing for Gameloft to start doing that business in that field as a whole.
Yeah. Moving into your area of expertise, tell us how you think about user acquisition. Is it crucial for scaling a game business in the country and internationally?
Yeah, I actually forget to mention my current role. So over the past 3 years, I'm part of the UA department in Gameloft, overseeing the UA for a couple of studios, and also taking care for some of the key partnerships, like the one with Google. So UA it's crucial for both companies, the one that are just starting, looking for visibility, and the ones that are looking for growth. You see that actually the gaming market is getting more and more competitive. I mean, if you take a look of how many games are released on a daily basis, the visibility is quite hard. So without having a UA from the beginning, it's very hard for you, to shine in the focus of the stores. And second, you see that most of the big guys, they also have a sufficient UA budgets. I mean, the big AAA studios, it's mostly because it's their shortcut for growth. So that's why UA is important for guys that are just starting and the ones that are trying to scale something that is working. UA is crucial even when you start testing the appeal of your game. Currently, in most of the companies, it's actually a gate for allowing the game to be soft launch and to get in that phase that everyone is calibrating their metrics, just to be sure that when the time comes for release, okay, you have the right metrics that actually you can launch the app effectively. The biggest mistake that I've seen in my personal experience, because I started also an indie developer. During most of the time, we are preparing for the market, but we are not thinking whether the market is prepared for us. So an advice for everyone here, you should really start forecasting as soon as possible. No matter how big that guesstimation will be, you need to be aware what will be the state of the market by the time you're going to release your game. Because I have plenty of examples in my career when, for different reasons, okay, we know that there is a certain niche for that game, but with all the complexities in development, you need to give up from this, to cut from this, to meet the deadlines. And at the end of the day, you actually release something that is quite not on time, and everyone and someone has already filled that gap in the market. That's why UA is part of almost every part of the journey. I mean, from having a concept, from shipping a prototype to the market, and after that to getting into different software processes.
Continuing on that subject, in your experience, what is the minimal and or optimal setup of a UA team?
So it definitely depends on the ambition of all the players, of the developers. I think that the minimum setup is probably, of course, you have to have at least one guy that has some kind of experience in performance marketing, that will cover all of the reporting side, the tracking side, and the campaign management stuff. And in the current times, creatives are really important. So you need at least one 3D generalist that will help you test creatives like crazy. So currently in the era of optimization, because you have a lot of algorithms optimizing and actually finding the right audience for you across the web, the importance of the creative is really crucial. That's why if you decide to establish a UA team inside your studio, you definitely need not only some kind of a intermediate or experienced professional in performance marketing, but you need artists, creative artists that will allow you to iterate, to create the right concept, and to test everything really frequently.
So when scaling up, there are two key questions: when and where to. In your opinion, for a starting game development studio, for example, when is a good moment to start thinking about going abroad and conquering new markets?
Let's say that it's the timing for the release and for the scale. It's actually the end result of the preparation for that. So you need to prepare and to invest not a long time, but a sufficient time before finding that right moment. And if we generally divide the processes of creating a concept for an app, for a game or whatever, to ship a prototype as early as possible, and after that to soft launch it, during all these stages, UA can be a great partner for you, basically to validate whether you're ready to go and increase funds. Otherwise, you'll get in something that it's called the growth trap. I'll speak about the growth trap at the end. Here is a quick checklist, basically, of how to identify whether you're ready or not. In all of these stages, believe me, if you miss some of this, it will eventually, let you to kill your project at the later stages, basically preventing you from failing fast. So the first moment is that when you start discussing a concept, you always need to make a market research and intelligence. There are great tools for that. So, and the basic question that you need to find the answers for is, will the market be ready for my app? And after that, when you're clear that, okay, we're going to work on that concept, we estimate that it's going to be on the market by that time, you need to ship a prototype as soon as possible and try to attract not only the target audience that you have for your app, because you all start with some kind of audience, target audience in mind. But if you succeed to make your app as broad as possible, it will be very easy after that for you to grow organically. And here the role of the UA is that actually, if you put some UA dollars on it, you can actually make campaigns for broad and specific audiences and start collecting some kind of pre-install and post-install data. What I mean under pre-install data, the CPMs, that you pay across the marketplace, the CTRs that you have. The post-install is actually how those users behave in your app. And this is a really important moment when you need to build some kind of a forecast, because after that, it will be quite helpful for you during the soft launch, to measure against what you're expecting this app to be and what the actual performance is looking like. So the last stage is really important. It's actually going to give you a signal whether you need to give up. It's the hardest decision that you can make. I failed so much time on this, trying to avoid the failing and actually facing the inevitable. Or if you have, good KPIs, I mean, they're up to your forecast, you see that the competition is not far away from your monetization or retention metrics, it means that these are the right moment to start scaling. So basically, if you think that okay, from the first test you see that you are far away from the market, and you have ideas that will actually lead to some kind of iteration that will influence those KPIs, give it a try. But if you made several attempts, let's say 5 or 6, and it's very visible that you're reaching a plateau, that's the moment for you to decide, okay, we're going to ship it, and we're going to probably expect not so big revenue like the initially forecast, or you just kill that and switch to a new project that you have at hand.
When we talk about scaling to new geographies, maybe you could share with us some thoughts. How do you go about finding the initial markets to test your concept in?
Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do is first, let's say that if we're about to release a mid-core game, we're currently looking at which of the mid-core games we have currently live. We see which of the strongest markets that we have. We see in these markets which are the currently live competitors with all the intelligent tools. We take a look at their metrics, we take a look at ours, and we're trying to guess, okay, what kind of metrics will allow us to, to fight with the competition there. And right after we have made that forecast, we ship a prototype or something, and we see, okay, here in those markets, we are on track. So we're good to go. On the others, I'm not going to lie, it's usually the APAC. It's a very hard market for all of us. So basically, without working with the local guys to help you there, it's very hard, especially for the people from Europe. So these are these markets are turning into a second priority for you. And you're focusing on the one that you see actually opportunities for growth.
Thanks for that. What markets are you focusing on? And are there any markets that are not profitable no matter the low CPI? So whatever you invest, even if you buy traffic cheap, still not going to work.
So it's my personal belief, and from experience, there is not a geo or a channel that can be profitable for you. The question is, what will be the scale? So currently I have campaigns that are running on 100 euro per day. I have others that are running way more on a daily budget. So that's the role of the UA, to find the right scale at which the further investment makes sense.
What would you suggest gaming studios can use as a proxy, or what are the kind of workarounds you would recommend if you don't have that experience?
So basically focusing only on the market. I mean, if you guys play a lot of games, and let's say that, okay, you have an idea for a game A, and you have a very, very concrete concept about this. If you don't have experience, it's very crucial, if you're an active player, and to play all the games that are in this niche, in these markets, to feel whether your game will fit to that niche. It's very typical for the indie developers that I have spoken in the past. I mean, if you're not active in your sphere, I mean, as a gamer, it's going to be very hard for you. So here is the part with the sixth sense, with your intuition, that you need to be triggered.
Gameloft has development studios in 11 locations, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it comes with pros and cons of team and culture. But how important is it to be close to your players?
Again, from the scale of Gameloft, there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages. For example, I will start with the disadvantage. So time zones, having to work with studios in so many locations, the balance between your working life and personal life, it's tricky. In terms of advantages, first, for the production guys, when they start to work on a concept, it's very easy for them to reach out to the local studios and ask for about their opinion, what kind of localization they need to do to their game in order to work. In terms of business, probably that's the biggest advantage that I see, mainly because I'm representing the business side. So basically reaching to local partners, especially in the APAC, in the LATAM, it's very important and it's crucial. There's just some markets that you cannot go without a partner. So having a local representative that is there for 10 years, it's just opened the doors for a lot of negotiations. And in terms of community management, it's also very helpful. It's easier for us to organize some kind of local events in the markets that we're representing. The last thing that I can think about was it was a bit an impressive campaign that we did with Porsche in Germany for the Asphalt 9 esports series. But this connection won't be possible if we don't have a local partners, no matter how big that title Asphalt 9 is currently on the market.
If you can share, how long is the average break-even point you're aiming for your core titles?
I think that I can answer this about Gameloft. It's not something as a top secret. So the business model of Gameloft is that we actually reinvest the revenue from the current titles into new projects, which kind of puts some kind of a limit on the break-even window of our marketing investment. Basically, if we prolong that window, it means that there won't be enough funds for the new games that are developing across the world. That's why for most of our games, we have a 1-year break-even model. Basically, every cent that I invest today, I need to return it 100% in 1 year. For some of the mid-core and hardcore titles that have bigger lifetime, meaning that they keep on receiving money for the players even after 2 years of their initial install, they can increase that window, but it will affect their current cash flow because actually you're prolonging the break-even point in future. If you ask how we are making sure that we are on track. Again, data science is a great partner here, because let's say that if you expect a certain amount to be returned in 1 year, you can easily extrapolate what percentages you need to have at day 3, day 7, and day 30. Let's say that day 30 you expect a 30% of the amount. And this is how we optimize. We follow and we decide, okay, we're on track, so let's scale, or we're not track, let's optimize.
Are you focusing on ASO or on UA?
So they are both important parts of the same funnel. So in Game Mode, we have different people that are taking care for the ASO, but I'm actually the guy that is running that mutual project UA and ASO synergies. So we are trying to make sure that, okay, they're conducting some kind of tests in terms of ASO screenshots mainly, because keywords are something that is affecting the organic rankings. It's something that is not currently on our radar. But every change that they make, we make sure that it's something that they have made a really good scale-up test to make sure that, okay, these new screenshots are going to perform better than the previous ones. Otherwise, it will harm the CSR, your store conversions, and it will increase the CPI at the end.
What advice would you give to starting gaming companies? How to scale fastest and most profitable? What should people walk out with?
It's all start with keeping a close track of your KPIs. You need to be aware what are your current KPIs, what are the forecasted ones, and where the product will be ready, and what are the currently market-friendly metrics that you have. And in order not to get in the growth trap, you need to scale the UA gradually, verifying that these KPIs are remaining the same. Because as we discussed about the CPI, it will change. It will probably change, and the revenue that you're expecting at the end. So you need to scale gradually and to verify that these are the KPIs. If are not the KPIs, please iterate on them, as much as possible. And as I said, the role of the creative in the current game ecosystem is really important. So during the whole time, if you're even on a concept level and you say that you just agreed about the concept, start working on the creatives. I mean, don't fear to start as early as possible, because at the end of the day, what will be the end result? You have plenty of working concept by the time when you need to scale your business, and you're going to have a lot of shots to tackle the game fatigue and the CPI changes that you see on the market. So these are the 3 key things for the scaling up.
Thanks, Vasil. Really appreciate that.